Once again, if you guys like the content we provide, be sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss any of the upcoming content, all brought to you by our friends over at Peak Performance. Be sure to join the Peak Squad email list down below for all of the exclusive behind-the-scenes content that you're missing. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Saturday morning at the Thunder Valley Nationals greeted us with the same challenging weather we left on Friday night. Rain was forecasted all day long, but fate decided to give the drag racers a break as the rain let up through the middle of the afternoon to allow the NHRA Pro categories to make their final attempts to qualify for Sunday's 16-car fields. Top field hopeful Cody Crone finished Friday night qualified in the 10th spot after rain canceled Q2 to end the night. As he continues to try to get more seat time in a top field dragster, he talks about the process of making it to the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did about 4 races with Peyton Racing last year. We're very successful, qualified at every race. Had a little bit of time in the off season. Back home we had a couple hurricanes, so we got super busy with work and wasn't able to get out the track as much. In the off season we bought an alcohol funny car with my dad, and we've been racing that in the beginning of the year. But you just can't pass up Bristol. You know, it's a beautiful track, it's a beautiful facility, and the opportunity came across, and we'd worked really hard to get here. So when the opportunity showed up, we took it. Absolutely.
2025 has been a historic year for the John Force racing trio of Austin Prock, Jack Beckman, and Brittany Force. After Brittany Force hit 340 miles an hour back at the Charlotte 4-wide event and during eliminations at last weekend's New England Nationals, it marked John Force Racing as the only team in NHRA history to have made that accomplishment, something all 3 of them accredit to their one-team mentality.
I think it just has a lot to say with our one-team statement. Everybody at the shop is very intelligent and they work very hard, just as hard as we do out here at the racetrack. And it's not just the drivers that are making all this happen. It's not just the crew chiefs. It's every single individual here at John Force Racing. We've done a great job surrounding ourselves with brilliant people and great engineers and great fabricators. And it's all those pieces added up that create the success that we've had. For as consistent as we've had it and as long as we've had it. We've worked really hard the last few years to get this edge, and nobody's letting up anytime soon.
And Noah, keep in mind, speed is a byproduct of a high G meter for 1,000 feet. And Grubnick even said it in the coverage when they won Epping, is they just finally are figuring out how to balance that fuel system. When our cars go into ignition retard, and the quicker they run early, the more distance there is between when the retard starts and where the finish line is. And the last 66 feet of this track is the speed track. So we care about 0 foot to 1,000 foot. That last 66 feet doesn't win races, but those big speeds that they put out there is a byproduct of the crew chief figuring out how to outsmart that rev limiter and get the thing to stay close to 8 cylinders all the way to the finish line. But I think the statement that it makes, and Brittany hit it with collecting the time slips for the crew, is you watch even on a test day, our crews work every bit as hard for our 3rd test run as they will for the final round at Indy. But there's no payoff for points and money or a trophy. The payoff is what comes up on the scoreboard there. So you ask her team, you ask his team, what did it mean to run 340 miles an hour? That's what keeps you motivated.
As my grandpa said, ET slips cure cancer.
Yes.
And really to back what Austin was saying on this one team, that JFR is one team. In Epping last weekend, going into the finals, if you were to look at in our pit, in our Monster Energy pit, it wasn't just Monster Energy shirts. There were Peak guys in there, there were Cornwall guys in there, all hovered around, helping out wherever they could, taking that car up before we went into the final round.
Eric Anders arrived Saturday qualified 4th. After a successful event at Epping, which saw her first final round appearance of the season, she now feels confident that the tides might finally be turning for the Elite Motorsports team.
Yeah, absolutely. Last weekend in Epping, New Hampshire was definitely a bit of a turnaround. We've really struggled this season, with the new fuel and getting it to run well in our engines. So I think the turn was last week, and we definitely have a lot of work in front of us, that's for sure, but it's we're directionally correct right now. So
Ryan Early came into Bristol coming off a great outing back in Chicago where he qualified 6th and made his best career pass during qualifying. Despite not advancing out of round 1, he feels it is a step in the right direction as he aims to run for the 2026 championship.
Yeah, really, we actually took that motor out because, we know we're C-level tuners, and we know when we come here it's a little bit of a gamble. So we're trying some new things, and knowing that, we got some momentum. We know we're going to start to be competitive again. The trick is turning on some wind lights, and you just got to go back into race mode. Now you get that confidence back. I mean, you look at someone like Gage over there. soaring on cloud 9. He's got the best team in the world, the best bike, and his confidence level is super high because of how much success he's had. You know, when you go from having success to not having success and having to dig your way out, it's real hard to get back to that, hey, I'm a top shelf rider and I'm going to put it on him type of feeling. So we got to get that back, and having a good strong team and a good strong running bike is going to make it happen.
Protect your vehicle with Peak Original Equipment Technology. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle.
And looking at qualifying for Pro Stock Motorcycle, Brayden Davis will continue the hype he built on Friday night, taking home the #1 qualifier spot, bumping Richard Gatson, who defeated him in his Q4 attempt, but would fall short to Brayden, who ran a 6.83 with a 4, and now has himself a real shot at shocking the world and winning on Sunday afternoon. Richard Gatson would end the day second with a 6.85 with a 9, improving on his Q2 run, as Matt Smith would be the one to break up the Vance and Hines top 3 with a 6.87 with a 1. Gage Herrera, who won the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge today, would finish 4th with a 6.87. Angie Smith falls back to the 5th spot. Chase Van Sant back in 6th. Mark Ingerson is 7th. Gianna Evaristo in 8th, who crossed the center line during her Q4 run, but was lucky enough to shove the clutch in and miss the blocks and not collide with Chase. Ryan Ayler, who we just talked to, he finishes back in 9th. Steve Johnson in 10th. Chris Bostick back in 11th. John Hall in 12th. And Charles Poski rounds out the field in 13th. In Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn will hold on to #1 qualifying honors with a 6.64 with a 5 to take the top spot, with his teammate Greg Anderson just behind him with a 6.65 with a 2. The KB Titan top 3 would continue with Matt Hartford, who lost his Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge, to Aaron Stainfield, who rounds out in 4th with a 6.66 with a 6. Cody Coughlin continues his momentum from Epping, qualifying 5th. David Quadra, an impressive run-up in 6th. Eric Enders falls from 4th back to 7th. Matt Latino rounds out the top half in 8th. Jed Coughlin bumps himself up from the 15th spot up to 9th, and Corey Reed rounds out the top 10 with a 6.68 with a 1. Christian Quadra round out 11th. Greg Stanfield back in 12th. Mason McGahey in 13th. Derek Kramer with an incredible 6.70 with a 6 to bump himself into the show. He finds himself 14th. Kenny Delco once again will race on Sunday, qualifying in the number 15 spot with a 6.70 with an 8. And the final car on the show will be Fernanda Quadra Jr. with a 6.71 with an O. The Quadras, I've already said, this weekend will be their last race until the Lucas Oil Nationals in Brainerd, Minnesota in August. As for the cars not in the show, Troy Coughlin Jr. would not qualify with a 6.71 with a 4, only 4 thousandths off the bump, his second DNQ in 4 races. Chris McGahey in a frustrating weekend ends in 18th, and Brandon Miller in the lone Dodge Dart finishes 19th with a 6.77 with a 4. And in funny car, Austin Prock would once again score the #1 qualifier spot with a 3.93 with a 1. Alex DeJoria, who entered today, qualifying #1, falls to 2nd with a 3.94. Ron Capps bumps himself up to 3rd with Jack Beckman back in 4th. Daniel Wilkerson, an impressive qualifying position in 5th with a 3.97 with a 7, giving him another shot at a win, with your reigning winner in J.R. Todd, who won the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge final today. He rounds out 6th. Cruz Pedregon, and another impressive qualifying result. He continues to build momentum for his car. He rounds out in 7th. Paul Lee rounds out the top half in 8th. Chad Green down in the 9th spot with Hunter Green, his son, finishing in 10th. Spencer Hyde bumps himself up to 11th. Bob Tasker III, a clean run in Q number 4. He sees himself seated in 12th. Julie Natas, in her first ever funny car debut, falls from the 6th spot to the 13th to end out Saturday. Matt Hagen with a disappointing result in 14th. Dave Richards in 15th. And Buddy Hull with a 5.230 will round out the 16 field funny car list. And in top fuel, if you don't think Tony Stewart is the real deal, I don't know what to tell you. His first #1 qualifying honors with a 3.75 with a 5, and his first Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge win came this afternoon at the Bristol Dragway. He gives himself another legitimate chance at winning his 3rd national event. He is currently perfect on Sunday afternoon with an 8-0 first round record and is on a 5-round final round appearance streak. Justin Ashley, an impressive result, up in 2nd with a 3.76 with a 2 as he struggles to find a pace in the car. Sean Langdon up in 3rd. Clay Milliken running the Arby's car. He finds himself sitting once again in the 4th spot where he left Friday night with a 3.81 with a 2. Steve Torrance back in 5th. Josh Hart, a good result, up in 6th with Brittany Forrest misses 3.40. Down in the 7th spot with Ida Zetterstrom, another impressive result for her in the top half with a 3.90 with a 4. Doug Coletta down in 9th. Dan Mercier in 10th. Sean Reed back in 11th. Cody Crone, who we talked to earlier, rounds out in 12th. And Sean Brown, who has struggled all weekend long, has yet to get a clean run down the racetrack. He ended up having his Q1 run thrown out because the rear rear wing did not meet the requirements and failed tech. And Cameron Ferre did not come out for Q4, or Q3 I should say, because Q2 did get rained out. He finishes in the 14th spot with an 8:29 with a 5. And before I get into the final thoughts for the day, I do want to send my best wishes out to the family of Herb McCandless, your former U.S. Nationals winner and Pro Stock icon. If you missed the news earlier this week, his family announced, his son Mike announced on their YouTube channel and their social media pages that Herb was diagnosed with colon cancer. He had surgery last night. I am still waiting. We're all still waiting on an update as far as I'm aware today, which is the next day after the surgery. But from all of us here at the channel, our wishes go out to Herb. He comes out to the U.S. Nationals every year. He's a legend of the sport, and his commentary that he gives during the Sox and Martin Hemi Challenge, which is a staple event of the U.S. Nationals weekend, is honestly one of the highlights of the event for me. Getting to hear stories from ways years back, and the insight he gives into the sport is incredible. So hopefully we get to see him at the U.S. Nationals again, but of course, hoping the best wishes on his recovery, and hopefully, this all goes well. They seem pretty optimistic about it with the chances that he has, the fact that they, I believe, caught it early. So best wishes to them. As for today, I really don't know what to say about Brayden Davis. He is incredible. The talent of this kid is absolutely phenomenal. To go out there on Friday night and take #1 qualifying honor, shock the world, and he came into the media center calm and collective. I said it to many people. He reminds me of Gage Traer, the way he talks, the way he looks at things, the way he thinks. It reminds me a lot of how I talk to Gage and the conversations I've had with him, and the performance on that bike is just as incredible. A 6:83 with a 4. His reaction times, I'm still not sure exactly what the reaction time was for today, but he ran he cut an 0:54 light in Q1 and an 0:20 in Q2. This kid's the real deal. This isn't going to be a fluke. The big question I've always had with these people who show up and get their first #1 qualifier spot and look oh so good in their cars is, will the stress of race day get up to him? I don't think it will. And right now, the way I see it, he's on the same level as Gage Traer when he first showed up. And I think anybody who doesn't sign this kid to a full-time ride immediately is going to be missing out. I really hope he ends up on the third Vance & Hines bike at the least, because you're talking about 3 world-class talents in that stable right now, and they can keep that full-time. Sky's the limit for this team. They have the future locked with Gage Traer and Richard Gadsden, and Brayden Davis right now is the next big thing to come in this class since Gage Traer did it 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So it's going to be exciting to see what he does tomorrow. I hope we get to see more of him throughout the rest of the season. As for the rest of the event, Pro Stock, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what the plan is for the Elite Motorsports camp. They're still very strong on race day compared to where they were back at Charlotte, but like we talked with Eric Anders, 300s back. There's still a lot of work they need to do to try and find that little tiny gap, because now they cut the big gap down, but where the real challenge is finding those little bitty increments of time that they can advance to try and cut the gap down to the KB Titan cars, because right now the only way they're going to still be able to win this is by cutting a stellar reaction time and catching likes of Dallas Glenn, Greg Anderson, and Matt Hartford out. Now, Aaron Stanfield had a really good job with that. He caught, I believe, an 0:13 light in his Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge final to get a whole shot win over Matt Hartford, who came reeling him back in. He came really close to stealing that win from Aaron Stanfield, but the reaction time really bailed him out on that, getting the win by 4/10,000ths of a second at the line in a whole shot. So it's going to be very exciting for Funny Car. Prock is in the same position that he was in last week, was very frustrated leaving Epping, but again, the mental toughness that he has is what's going to advance him to being the top talent of this class. To be able to put behind what happened at Epping the same way he did Brainerd last season is going to be a wake-up call to this class that if you don't have the pace in the car right now, you're going to need to find it real soon, or else Austin Prock's going to make you look like a fool on race day. Top Fuel, Tony Stewart has a legitimate shot at winning this event. And Brody, photographer, pointed out, again, a track where he has a shot at winning is a NASCAR facility that he has also won on. He won at Las Vegas, he won at Chicagoland. Now, with literally the oval sitting right behind his shoulder when he's on the starting line, he has another shot at doing it here too. So it's going to be very exciting to see what he has. Clay Milliken, I'm very optimistic about his opportunity. He had a really good run in Q4. The real big thing that I look at is these heat of the day runs. And right now, Tony Stewart looks phenomenal. His hot track setup is really good. I talked to him in the staging lanes and said, you have a really good hot track car. And he's like, we're building on it. While he's sitting in the back of the lanes waiting to go out last for the Mission Foods Too Fast State Challenge while holding on the #1 qualifying spot. So he might be building on it. I think he already has it. He looks phenomenal when the heat of the day is on this racetrack. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see how it goes. Because right now, the story of the weekend right now has been this weather that has transpired throughout this weekend. Ryan Ayler called this track the new Denver with how high the altitude is, and the way that the moisture is soaking up the air right now makes it really challenging for these engines. The funny cars are able to tune their way around it. The naturally aspirated motorcycles and cars are not. So with the way this is set up, we saw a really good track for Q4. The air really cooled off when those cars came out for Q4, which is where we saw a lot of those impressive runs, especially in the pro stock categories. But for Top Fuel, I think it's going to be very exciting because I think we're looking at a similar condition to what we saw in Epping. If the humidity stays as high as it is right now, which just feels like I'm walking through water, it's going to choke these engines, and it's going to make it a tuner's game come tomorrow like it always does at any event, but especially now. It might be a smoke session, the same way we saw in round 1 last year at this event. So it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be very challenging. Whoever wins Drag Racing Bracket Bonanza, I don't know how they're going to win it. I think I talked with Elon and his daughter. I think they're just hitting the randomizer button. I don't know how you guys these wins, but it's going to be fun regardless. That's going to wrap up the video here this weekend for Saturday qualifying at the Thunder Valley Nationals. Again, thank you to our friends over at Peak Performance for the support they've given us all season long. If you want to, the link down below. Join the Peak Squad emailing list for all the behind-the-scenes content that we have going on this weekend, as well as throughout the entire season. But you can also get it from their other drivers, as well as Alex Taylor, who was running in the Streetcar Challenge back at Chicago. So it's going to be a fun event. Thank you to our friends at Peak Performance. And until Sunday afternoon, this has been Mighty Mac. We'll see you next time.